Welcome to the Decide to Move podcast, helping entrepreneurs like you make smart, pivotal shifts in your life and business. Tune in each episode for inspiring stories from brilliant business minds and trailblazers to find out how they made their big moves and how you can too. Now here's your host, author, speaker, business strategist, CEO, and founder of Decide to Move, Monica M. Bijoux.
Thank you for joining us for another episode of Decide to Move podcast. I am super excited again because I have another amazing guest with me. She is the dream career coach, and I tell you, Jeannie Lyons is all about that. She's all about helping women make transitions in their career. And I'm super excited because we've been knowing each other for almost 2 years and working in the same mastermind, and she's always real, she's authentic, and I just absolutely love her personality. And you do not want to miss this episode because she's here to tell women the 3 biggest mistakes that even smart women are making when they're considering a career change. And so right now, with everything happening, a lot of people will be going through career change. And even though it is, say, women, there's some men out there, you may get some of these strategies that'll help you too. So without further ado, I am super excited to have my co-mastermind sister with me, Jeannie Lyons. How are you doing today, Jeannie?
I'm great, Monica. Thanks so much for having me today.
Of course. I told you from the day that we met that you are just a beautiful breath of fresh air. Always real, always honest, and I just absolutely love talking to you.
Well, yes, that is true because sometimes I say things people don't want to hear, and that's okay.
And it is because, honestly, the things that people don't want to hear are the things that that's going to help them change and help them grow. So it's kind of like that ouch factor.
Exactly. I've got some good friends and I am so thankful. And you're one of them, Monica, that just sort of says, hey, get out of that pattern. Let's move on. I've heard that story 3 times already and it's too old.
Yeah, exactly. So Jeannie, where are you coming in from? Let our listeners and those that are viewing this via video, where are you currently?
I'm in San Jose, California, and I've been in California for, oh my gosh, decades, and I love it. I am now a California girl, even though I moved here in the 70s, actually. So I've adopted this as my permanent home. I just can't imagine living elsewhere. And I'm in the heart of Silicon Valley. So there are a lot of people who are struggling with jobs right now. And the reason I chose this particular market, if you will, is because I actually went through it myself. And with what people are going through right now, I really want them to be able to benefit from the experience so that I can save them time. And that's why the name of my business is Accelerated Synergies, because together we can accelerate the progress, because you don't have to make the same mistakes that I made.
Yeah, and that's, the purpose of this podcast is to help people, give them those strategies, those tips, those little nuggets that they can start with a nice, smooth transition instead of making all the mistakes that lots of us have made when we're first starting out. So what has been your journey for your career path that made you decide that this is definitely the path that I want to take in my business?
Well, I was a scientist. I still am. Once you are forever. And I had a very scientific, didactic training in the scientific manner. I've been head of laboratories in major teaching institutions, and I also did drug development. I was actually the worldwide project manager for the biggest blockbuster drug in the world. And you can guess what that one was. And I really did like what I was doing. I liked doing the scientific stuff and watching my test tubes line up in the little rack. And I also loved going out and talking to people and doing presentations. So I was at the height of what I felt was at the time my dream career. I was traveling the world on a first class expense account, and I loved what I was doing and the people I was meeting. I had 80 people around the world that reported to me. And then I came home one day and I had a 13-year-old daughter, and I found beer bottles all over the front yard. So I thought, okay, I'm not paying attention to my daughter. And then 2 weeks after a whirlwind European trip, I did 6 countries in 9 days. I came home, and 2 weeks later after that, my fiance died. He had been ill, and I'd been doing end of life care. So I was devastated with that. And it's sort of like what's going on now. You know, we have these major life events that happen to us that are out of our control. And then a month after that, I got fired. So that was really an opportunity for me, because I wouldn't have quit that job. I would have continued to push through, neglect my family, neglect my relationships. And it allowed me to step back and really take stock of me. And one of the things, and this wasn't one of the 3 biggest mistakes. However, it is a very important piece of my program, is that you have to take a look at your values. And if your values are out of alignment, you won't be fulfilled in your career, and your family's going to suffer, your relationships. And, you know, I was making really good money at the time, and that's what pushed me forward. And then, you know, once you suffer a devastating loss, you realize it's really not always about the money. My family was more important. My relationships were more important. So my fiance's aunt at his funeral gave me a book that opened me up to the spiritual side. So, you know, I was so scientific, so didactic. You do ABC to get DEF. And I never would have believed any of this stuff. But the event itself opened me up and let me be open to that there is something else. And that's when I had the opportunity to study energy psychology techniques, neurolinguistic programming, hypnosis. And I thought, oh, okay, there is something else out there. I always thought there was something bigger than me. And I never listened to it. I never listened to that inner voice because I had to be in control.
Like a scientist, right?
Right. All my experiments had controls.
And and I love science in school, but I was like, nope, not becoming a scientist. So I'm glad that you became one. And we actually had, and I think you met her at the JBology live with Sharice Alexander. She was a guest on the show, and she's also a scientist. So I don't know if you got a chance to connect with her.
No, I didn't. I'll have to look for her.
Definitely have to connect. But one thing that I really love that you said, Jeannie, is that when you got fired and all these things happened, you said it was an opportunity. And that's kind of like what's happening now. I'm not sure when the episode is going to air, but when it does, I mean, people are still going to be picking themselves up and looking at the situation. And as I actually did a training earlier about the different stages of grief, people are going to still be in different stages of grief. And so this is going to be so relevant and important for them to understand that while it was devastating and it is tragic, that it is an opportunity for lots of different things in their personal as well as in their business.
Absolutely, because that is a major life-changing event, what people are going through right now. And it's not always easy to see the silver lining. And that sounds really trite, and it's true. So that's why, and at the time, did I see it as as an opportunity? No, it wasn't until after. And what I encourage people to do is, okay, maybe the first day, pull those covers back over your head and stay in bed. And maybe the next day, binge watch something on Netflix. But then the next day, get your butt out of bed and take some kind of action, because I'm going to be able to offer your audience a workbook that I put together called the ABCs of Career Change. And A stands for action. And it doesn't really matter what kind, I mean, it's best if you take that action toward your goal, but just take some kind of action. Even if it's get out of bed, take a shower, brush your teeth, and, do something positive to move forward, because inaction breeds inaction, and action breeds action. So, and the other thing with action is that is almost counterintuitive is people will say, well, I can't take action because I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know where I'm going. And that's one of the big mistakes that even smart women make, is that they don't know where to go. They don't know what to do. They don't know what they want. So they do nothing. So because they don't have the clarity. And the irony of it is the action will give them clarity. So if they take the action, they'll start to get the clarity. And it's not going to come all at once. I mean, I will admit, I needed a big whack over the side of my head. I don't listen to subtle cues. I need the universe to take a big board and hit me right on the side of the head. So you don't have to do it. You don't have to clean out your entire dresser all at once. You can start with one drawer. And then maybe, oh gosh, that feels good. Maybe I'll move on to the second drawer. And oftentimes, I'll bet you've done this too, Monica. I think we've all done it. Set a timer and say, okay, I'm only going to do this for 10 minutes. And pretty soon you say, oh, well, that was only 10 minutes. I can do another 10 minutes. And your whole dresser's cleaned. Now, why is this on the top of my mind? Because my dresser needs to be cleaned.
Exactly. And I love that. When I went through, I was sick and I had the flu or whatever, and while going through this pandemic, there's 2 strains of flu. And that was one of the things that like you talked about. I literally made myself get up every single day, even if it was to walk in the kitchen and then I'm going back to bed, but I still made myself get up continuously. And then as I started feeling better, I would make myself get up and get dressed, even if I'm not going anywhere. And right now with everything happening and people being quarantined and stuff like that, action is sometimes just getting dressed like you're going out, and it just changes your whole demeanor.
Yes, it does. Now, have I been in Zoom meetings with my pajama bottoms and a sweater on? Yes. I'm fully clothed right now.
But no one would know. So that's the great thing about Zoom. I mean, I've seen that where people have a nice shirt on and then some sweatpants, but hey, long as you got up and took action and did something. So that's great. So was action one of the 3 biggest steps or mistakes?
Well, no, the first biggest mistake is in not knowing what you want to do. I've had clients say, well, I think maybe I want to be an astronaut or maybe a FedEx driver. Well, you need to take the steps it is to find out what it is you want to do. So what I suggest is you find out why you want to do it. So people just know they're unhappy, they hate their job, but they don't know why. And they don't know why they want to find another one. So that's mistake number 1, is not having your why and not knowing what you're going to do or what you want to do. They'll say, I want this, but they have no idea what they want.
And what about those ones that like what they're doing, like you did? They love what they do, but however, there's something missing, like that. There's a passion or something or purpose that they're supposed to be reaching out for, or I not even supposed to, but want to, yearning to have, but they find themselves like stuck in a job. Like they love what they're doing, but they know that that's not what they're meant to do. What do you say for those individuals?
What I say is you need to look at your values. Like what I did, I was valuing my ego and my salary more, or I put that above my family and my relationships and my spirituality and the core values that we all have. And that's why I was just limping around, because when I have my clients do it, it's in a circle, the values wheel, and you'll see where you are not filling out your wheel and where the spoke is broken. So it's like running around on a flat tire. So doing a really deep dive into what your values are. And people will give it lip service, and there is no easy way. You have to take a deep dive if you really want to be fulfilled and have meaning and purpose.
Yeah.
So passion versus purpose to me is different. So my passion is the performing arts. I love the performing arts, ballet and opera and musical theater. Well, and I've done some, I play an instrument and I took tap dance lessons. I'm never going to make money by being a performing artist. So that's my passion. My purpose is in being able to support the performing arts. So that's the difference between passion versus purpose. A lot of coaches will say, well, go find your passion. Well, I can be passionate. I'm passionate about kittens. So, that's not going to make me money either. But my purpose is giving my cats a good home. So that's the difference there.
And I thank you for explaining that, because I think a lot of people really struggle with that, where I have had coaches that say you don't, find your passion and that's what's going to help you get to define your purpose or make you money. And it's not like I have a lot of passions. I like football. I like, crocheting. But first of all, I'm not a football player. I love tennis. I do not play tennis, right? So it's true. Like your passion does not necessarily mean that's what I'm destined to be at once. Not at all. I mean, I would probably be living on the streets if I chased my passion, because I would not have any money.
And if you're living your purpose, then you're able to support your passions.
Exactly. Love it. Love it. So what's the next thing? What's the next biggest mistake that women are making? And I'm even just going to say entrepreneurs, because all this actually falls for men as well.
Right. And not just entrepreneurs. It's anybody who has any kind of job or career. So, and I think you focus a lot on entrepreneurs, and I think they can use these same tips, especially if they're newbie entrepreneurs and can't decide yet what kind of business they want. So they need to figure out why first. And then secondly, they need to be able to identify their transferable skills. I've got clients that say, I've done the same thing for 10, 20, 30 years, and this is all I know how to do or what to do. And that's not true. So one of the things I do is I help them really look at other things that they've done with maybe their passions. Maybe in their passion, they were a board member for one of the arts groups, or maybe they I used to house ballet dancers and opera singers during the season. So that fed my passion. Now, that also gave me organizational skills, learned how to be a leader because I was an officer on the board. And So you need to look at all parts of your life to be able to find your transferable skills. And maybe it's, oh God, I just lost my train of thought there on the transferable skills. Okay, maybe you are great at organizing the family reunion. And maybe you are the one that always has been called on to do X task. So take a look at that. What do people come to you for? Those are your strengths. And then you can lead from your strengths. And that will help you with that. So if you're looking for a job, for instance, and you have your resume, and then you think, okay, now I want to be an astronaut. Well, look at the job description for the astronaut and see what you can do as a career coach that can transfer over to being an astronaut. Now I'm giving you an extreme example here. And it takes some discernment with that. So one of the ways in which I'm lucky is that I did have that scientific training. And then I did have the more energetic spiritual training. And so I'm able to put the two of them together so that I can take a look at it logically and yet be able to put some energetic spin on some of that and see what transfers. So that, I think, is the biggest second one. They're in their box and they don't know. Even budding entrepreneurs, they're going, oh gosh, there's this, should I go into an MLM? Shall I do career coaching? Well, it's great because that's piqued your interest for a reason, and yet look and see what skills you have that transfer. So my sister had what I considered a dream job. She was the chief social hostess for a major cruise line. She sailed the high seas. She was the captain's escort at all the high-end parties for their passengers. She got to wear beautiful gowns and eat wonderful food and travel all over the world. And what people didn't know, because she would share this with me, is that if someone died on the ship, she had to take care of all that. She had to make sure the body was taken care of. She had to deal with the spouse or the significant other. She had to make sure all the decedent's items were packed up and make sure the body transfer was made. Well, when you're thinking of this beautiful gal in a beautiful gown, you're not thinking that she's doing that too. Also, these parties, since they are on a ship and it can get pretty rough waters out there, she had guests throwing up all over each other in their beautiful cocktail gowns too. And she had to deal with that. So people need to do research. And the big caveat is that I think people don't give themselves enough credit of what they can do and what those skills are that can transfer.
And that's so true, because when you do things that come from the heart, it's often hard to take what you do that comes so naturally, where people come to you all the time and ask you those questions, and turn those things into what you realize is your purpose and something that is part of your destination or your destiny.
Yes, absolutely.
Like what you hear so far? Make sure you never miss an episode by clicking the subscribe button now. This podcast is made possible by listeners like you. Thank you for your support. Now back to the show.
So what's the third thing?
Okay, the third thing is that you need to be able to come from a place of peace and calm before you make any decision. And I'm not talking just about career. I'm talking about maybe that new car you want to buy, or should I move from this house? When you're coming from a place of desperation, you're not going to make a good decision, and it doesn't matter what that decision is, whether it's your career or buying a new home. So that's the biggest mistake that I see people make is, and keeps them from jumping, that keeps them jumping from the fire into the frying pan. So when I was looking for a job, when I lost that supposed dream job, I kept looking in the same field and I kept doing the same things over and over again. And it wasn't until someone said, "Oh, why don't you look at this?" where I had an awakening, if you would, to be able to look at the other side of me, switching from the left brain to the right brain. And I had a headhunter tell me that you're coming from a place of desperation. Well, I had a child to support. So it's not that easy to do. But one of the things I do is to help people get rid of that baggage that they brought into the situation. So we work on the anger, sadness, fear, and guilt that has been carried along for decades from the beginning. And if you subscribe to this belief from even past lives that you've brought forward, and once you're able to get rid of that baggage, then you can start to make a decision from coming from a good place. So if people are in a job, and this isn't as relevant maybe right now, but I have them get happy with that. So do you want to leave your job because you hate your boss? Well, fine, there's something good in everybody, and start looking for something good, some way you could compliment that boss. Are you having bad relationship? Do you hate your workstation? Maybe can you put a palm tree picture up? It sounds simplistic, and yet it's not. Maybe listen to good music. Whatever you need to do to make your current environment as calm and peaceful as possible, so that you're not coming from angst and desperation to make your decision. And that is the biggest mistake I think people make.
Yeah, I love that. So let's do a recap of all three. So just in case someone is tuning in a little later or catching some of the video at the middle, they can go back and hear. So what are the three biggest mistakes all at once? So starting from 1, 2, and 3.
Okay, so one is not taking the time to know why you want what you think you want. So find your why. Why is it you want to leave your job? Why is it you want a new job? The second one would be to get outside the box and look at what skills you have that are transferable. If you're applying to an employer, for instance, you want to be able to highlight your soft skills. And those are the types of things that maybe you did when you organized the family reunion, or the things that people come to you for, your strengths. And of course, the third one is don't come from a place of desperation. Whatever you need, get some help. Your good friend that's honest with you, like you and I are, Monica. We're honest with each other. Find somebody like that. The caveat is don't ask 10 people, because you'll get 10 different answers. So, get one or two very close friends, stick with it, and move forward so that you're not coming from desperation.
I love that. And I'm going to add one more thing in there, ensuring that you're coming from your place of intuition and authenticity, because to me, I always have to do a gut check before I end up doing things. And ultimately, I know the answer, but oftentimes we search for other people to either confirm what we're asking or denying. But I always have to start from me, my insides, my gut instinct that tells me, yeah, this does not feel good, or this is right. And all the things that Jeannie has given, even though she talks about career change, these are things that right now, with everybody going through a lot of different circumstances, some people have lost their jobs, and some people are looking at this as an opportunity to find and seek their passion and their purpose, Jeannie has an awesome and amazing gift that she's going to give that can actually be used in any of those situations. Do you care to share what that is?
Oh, I'd love to. I put together a workbook, and actually I have to say I'm pretty proud of it. And it's called the ABCs of Career Change. And so we start with A for action, that we had discussed, and we work our way all the way to Z. And the Z word is zeal. So how to maintain your zeal when you're making these decisions. And each module has a video that goes with it, and also exercises, so that you can get a good start and a good handle on how to move forward.
Wow, that's amazing. And this is free. I mean, like, this right here is something that people can sell, that actually would sell as an actual program. So thank you so much, Jeannie, for allowing not only just my audience, but yours as well, to have access to something so amazing. And I think that right now, with everything happening, this is going to be good information that people can flip to which letter that resonates with them and actually take action and do something to move forward, and that continue to help them, whether they're going through a career change or just decided that, you know what, I need to figure out what my purpose is. You have 26 letters, 26 ways to actually make that happen.
That's right. I'm pleased to be able to offer it. I don't know how long it's going to stay free, but it's free for your audience right now.
Exactly. So you guys better get it while it's hot. I'm just saying. So Jeannie, how can people find you and look for you? Well, before we actually get to that, you actually do your own style of coaching. So what strategies do you teach people? I know you started talking about them, but like if someone comes to you and they want to actually find their purpose or make a career change, what are some of the things that you take them through?
Well, I take them through. First, I have them find what they want to do and what they don't. So I start backwards and I say, tell me what you don't like about what you're doing. And then once that's out of the way, then they don't have to deal with that anymore. And so we move through that. We work with values. We actually, I give them some grounding techniques and also an empowerment technique that's an anchoring called Ring of Fire, that they can use in many different situations. If they're going into a job interview or if they have to make a sales call, you know, the entrepreneurs and the employees both will find it very helpful. And then we take a look and start seeing what, I have them write their ideal job description. Then I have them start comparing it and learning how to pick the keywords out so that it's more likely to go through the automated system that all resumes go through now. Networking tips. We do that also in the mastermind group. And they actually get a chance in the mastermind group to be able to broaden their network and start in very safe ways to do that.
That is great. And what I love, and honestly, what I love about Jeannie is the fact that she is able to use her left and right brain. Remember, she's a scientist, and you know, scientists are very analytical. But because of the fact that she adds other variations of NLP, hypnosis, and other different modalities, she's able to help you no matter where you are coming from. So if you're a person that's analytical, she got you. If you're a person that's in the rainbows in the sky, she's able to bring you back down to earth. So, you know, literally. So that's the part that's so awesome about working with her, is that she can meet you no matter where you're coming from. And I think that's why we get along so well as well, because I am a left and a right brainer thinker too. So it's beautiful. Beautiful friendship and relationship.
And a little humor never hurts either.
Exactly. Always laughing and always smiling. So it's great. So now how can people connect with you that want to work with you as well as to follow you?
Well, they can find my Facebook group, which is Professional Women Creating Career Bliss. And that's my Facebook group. And go to my website, www.acceleratedsynergies.com. And You can put the link below, right,
Oh
Monica?
yeah, they're all going to be in the show notes.
That's
Trust me.
great, because sometimes even I get a spelling glitch when I type that. The reason I chose it was because it means so much to me that I get to work with people to accelerate their progress. But as far as having a website named that, it's been challenging.
Yeah, but I love the word synergy. And I remember we talked about that because it encompasses so much. It's really bringing the whole person together and being able to do it in a way that's super fast and effective. And it's all about them. So I love the name and I love what it stands for.
Thanks, Monica.
Yeah. So any last words that you have for our listeners and viewers?
Be in action. Just make sure, that you do one step a day. My brother had a garage full of stuff, and he was overwhelmed. And like a lot of things in our lives, it's easy to get overwhelmed. And I told him, I said, you know what? Just deal with one shoebox a day. So get in action, even if it's one shoebox a day.
Love that. And we're on that note, I don't need to add anything else. All I can say is that if you haven't gotten a chance to check out Decide to Move podcast, I definitely recommend that you do so. We've had some really great speakers in this today. You can see that Jeannie Lyons comes with the goods to keep you from making those 3 biggest mistakes that's going to keep you stuck and keep you from taking action and moving forward. I'm Monica M. Bijoux. I am the CEO and founder of Decide to Move, as well as the host of this podcast. Thank you so much for joining us for another episode. And until then, bye for now.
Thank you for listening to Decide to Move podcast with Monica M. Bijoux. If you are ready to make a pivotal shift and take your destined position in the world, then schedule a free discovery call by going to www.decidetomove.com. For all links mentioned in today's show and to listen to previous episodes, go to www.decidetomove.podcast.com. And remember, we've all been delivered rotten fruit in our past. We can choose to chew on the rotten fruit trying to convince ourselves it's what we want, or we can become the fruits of our labor and create an incredible, fulfilling, and inspiring life and business out of it. You have what it takes to create the life you want.